And worship really isn't about our own gratification, is it? That really is a side benefit. But ultimately, worship is about, first and foremost, about the living God in the person of Jesus Christ. And so we're grateful for you for being here, choosing to be here, and to share with us in this, the visitation of God. This is a moment, this is an encounter. Don't dismiss it, don't minimize it, and don't miss it. But this is an encounter, and it's incumbent, it's necessary that you and I engage with Him and understand this moment as one that you will not have again. This moment, it will not be repeated. And so every engagement, every moment, every visitation that we have is special. And it is essential in what God is doing in our lives. Don't dismiss it, don't minimize it, and don't miss it. Engage with Him in this moment. It won't be repeated. And so what we want to do is take full advantage of this moment in His presence. I want to read for you this this song. You all that are, I think they're called the Millennials, right? Yeah, and I'm going back now, right? I think his name is Bono, right? Anybody ever heard of him? With U2? Oh, yeah. Listen. I'm sorry?
He wears pink glasses.
Yeah, and I think he's the author of this song. I want you to hear the lyrics. And the lyrics, I think, speak volumes about millions, if not billions of people, but expressing the sentiments of so many people. I have climbed the highest mountains. I have run through the fields only to be with you. Only to be with you. I have run, I have crawled, I have scaled these city walls only to be with you. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I have kissed honey lips, felt the healing of the fingertips. It burned like fire, this burning desire. I have spoke with the tongue of angels. I have held the hand of a devil. It was one empty night. It was cold as stone. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I believe when the kingdom comes, then all the colors will bleed into one. But yes, I'm still running. You broke the bonds. You loosened the chains. You carried the cross of my shame, You know I believed it, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I still haven't found what I'm looking for. He almost had me. Broke my bonds, loosed my chains. You carried the cross of my shame. You know I believed it. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. What did he do? He missed the visitation. You don't find Jesus and not find what you're looking for. If everything you and I need is in the well of who Jesus is. It's the water that He gives that satisfies. And so it's a mystery to me how Bono, if he's the author, would express this other than some people can get ever so close to the majesty on high and miss the encounter and walk away and come to the conclusion I still haven't found what I'm looking for. If I had the opportunity to ask him, I would ask him, then what are you looking for? Amen. What is there? What else is there beyond Jesus Christ? Amen. And I thank the Lord for the woman at the well. She said just the opposite. She, in fact, in her words, said, "Come see a man who told me all things I ever did. Could this be the Christ?" She was convinced. And though she put it in the form of a question, she really was asserting and stating her, affirming even, her faith in Jesus Christ. And here in this narrative, John chapter 4, this idea of satisfaction with Jesus, we go through sanctification that leads to this place of deep satisfaction in our souls. And we find what we're looking for, what we've been looking for. And for true believers, what is so stunning for true believers is that even when we're not looking for Jesus per se, we think we're looking for something else, only to discover that everything we're looking for was in Jesus. Just the opposite of Mr. Bono. We found what we were looking for. And I know I'm expressing it in the form of human experience. But ultimately, God, the Lord, the sovereign God, drew us to this place so that he might indeed reveal himself to us. And yet we speak of it in first person terms of our own experience. I found him. And yet we were the ones who were lost. He revealed himself to us, and we're grateful for that. This is a marvelous section of Scripture here in John, the Gospel of John, chapter 4. And I want to share with you just a few thoughts. But here in John chapter 4, when Jesus says to the woman, "Give me a drink," he's asking for what he ultimately could have done for himself. But he did this deliberately to engage with her, only for the purpose of revealing to her that even though he wanted physical water, he realized she needed spiritual water. So he used this moment to teach, and he used his own need, his own desire for water, to demonstrate her need, her desire for true water. What I have discovered is that all of us in life leave what I would identify, what I would call our an emotional trail, an emotional trail or path in our relationships, in these moments, in these visitations. We just exude out of our pores of our being. We exude emotion. It's part of who we are. God created us as spiritual beings, emotional, intellectual, psychological, and physical beings. So here we have these 5 realms, domains, as it were, that we exist in. And we can know God. We can know God, wants us to know him in all 5 realms. The spiritual, emotional, psychological, the intellectual, and physical. He wants us to experience him, the fullness of who he is in all of those domains. Imagine you driving a vehicle that has 5 cylinders in it. And you need all 5 cylinders to get on the beautiful glorious beltway of Baltimore City. You see, God's working on me, right? You see the change? It's a change in me. You see it? That's right. That's right. And you need all 5 cylinders to hit the ramp and to engage in the traffic. But imagine of the 5, you only have 3. And you're hitting on that gas pedal. You get in the lane in front of me. Oh, man. But imagine this now. See, that's a trail. That's a path. And all of us need all 5 cylinders to engage in life. And many are running, as it were, this metaphor, running on the beltway of life with only a few cylinders. They don't have full engagement. And this woman lacked full engagement. And what you're going to see in her life, and perhaps only as well in our lives, so not hers only, but in our lives, that we leave emotional trails of our experiences. And I want you to look with me. And so we're looking at this John chapter 4, this narrative, from just a slightly different nuance or slant when we're looking at her needs. See, Jesus offered her water. Well, why did she need water? There was something in her that she perhaps didn't even recognize. And let's explore this. So the woman says in verse 9, Jesus said in verse 7, give me drink. In verse 9, the woman said to her, how is it that you, being a Jew, ask a drink of me, a Samaritan woman? For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. And in that passage, in that verse, is an emotional trail. It's emotional baggage. She's carrying baggage that Jesus is by way of his question, has brought her to this visitation so she can see her need. And look at this. One of the pieces of baggage she has is racial resentment. You see the trail? She has resentment for Jews. How is it that you, being a Jew, now I don't want to read into it what isn't there, but I suspect from her words that she's actually challenging, I don't want to say rebuke, but challenging him. You're a Jew? She wasn't being nice necessarily, maybe saying it in a respectful way. Amen. But you can say something respectfully, but you can be real mean. Yeah, right. Amen. Taking a piece out of somebody in a nice way, right? You a Jew, asking me a drink, and I'm a Samaritan woman? I'm a Samaritan. Sure, see? Huh? Who's surprised? Or surprised? Surprised by? Good. Could have been surprised, yeah. But yet her response seems to be somewhat on the negative. Surprised that, yes, this Jewish man says to her, a Samaritan woman. She makes a point of it. And I guess I'm just asking, well, why make a point? Here's a man, he asks for water, just give him water. Why go into all that? So what is she doing? You know what she's doing? Emotionally, she's oozing. Stuff is just coming out of her. And that's how we are sometimes. It doesn't take much. Somebody push a button, push a button, and all this stuff from 1960, 50, we just dump on folks sometimes. And I think that's a moment. This stuff is just rolling out of her. She couldn't wait to get this out. Finally, I got a Jew. Now, I don't want to impose this on her. But this is my imagination, sanctified imagination. I'm trying to imagine this Jewish man, Jesus, and encountering this woman. She says to him, "How is it that you, being a Jew?" I suspect that there is some racial resentment. See, the Jews hated the Samaritans because of their past idolatry. They became idol worshipers. They mixed what's called eclecticism. They mixed religious belief together. It's like the car sticker on the back of people's car. You see the symbols of all the major religions, and it says coexist, as if all these religions can just get along. In the words of that famous professor Rodney King, why can't we all just get along? No, we can't. We can't. And so God forbid them to mix. And they did. The Jews hated the Samaritans because the Samaritans, the northern part of Israel, they were mixing up, they were worshiping false gods. And God punished them, severely punished them. He sent the Assyrians back in around 733, 732. So we're looking at least 700 or so years before Jesus. The Assyrians came down, sacked, destroyed Samaria, took some of the Jewish people in Samaria back to Assyria, and brought some of the Assyrians and other foreign countries into Samaria and mixed them up. And they became what Jews refer to as half-breeds. So yeah, the Jews hated the Samaritans, and the Samaritans returned the favor. They hated the Jews. And this stuff went on at least 700 years. 700 years have passed, and she's still carrying the stuff. How is it that she's still carrying that? Because past generations have poisoned the well from which she was drinking. So now she's thinking out of a racially biased perspective of the Jews. Amen. You're a Jew. And you ask me, a woman. And in fact, you shouldn't even be talking to a woman. Amen. Right. So it's racial resentment, and clearly what's happened in their experience, they hurt each other. The Jews hated the Samaritans. Samaritans hated the Jews. And they both were hating on each other, just hurting each other. Hurt people hurt people. Healing people who are being healed, we attempt to heal. So racial resentment is clearly, I think for me anyway, is in this, is in the context of this conversation that the woman is carrying on with Jesus. For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. She's pulling him up. Why are you even talking to me? Racial resentment. Jesus wants to heal her of that. And you know, present day, whites hate blacks. And vice versa. Blacks were treated with just despicable and appalling racism. No doubt about it. Blacks hate whites for their racism. And now our well is poisoned. We're racist. Right? Racists make racists. In fact, now, you know, I tell you what, you can fix it for me. Just give me my 40 acres and a mule. No, let's start right there. We'll try to fix it, but let's start with that. See, that's what we do. We set these, these false standards to try and fix what's wrong with us from a human level. And in fact, I'd suggest to you that this woman and people who get locked into racial resentment tend to value victimization. Look what you've done to me. and we value it, and we don't want to let it go. This is my trophy. And you know what Jesus wants to do? Jesus wants to get into the room of our hearts and get rid of all those trophies and awards and victimization awards that we've received. He did. Do you know what he did to me? She said this about me. And we put that up on the wall of our heart and our souls, and that stuff is in us. And then when when God the Son comes along and he asks for water, we just dump it out. And it's just reality. It's our present reality. It's past reality. Human nature. It is so destructive. We are so inherently destructive. You give me a minute outside of the mercy and the grace of God, and I have the potential of hurting. And the same is true for you. And thanks be to God, the Spirit of God guards our hearts. And he speaks to our spirit. Don't you say that. But you know, in our pain, what we want is we want the person who caused the pain to feel pain. And now we in our experience we see racism in everything. Oh, he's wearing racist clothes. Did you see that racist look? He said the word blue. That's a racist color. Racist statues. Can I go there? Maybe it is. Maybe the people who erected those statues, maybe they were racist. But you know what? I really don't care. And when I drive by George Washington or Thomas Jefferson, I'm not thinking, you see, I'm not bound in that. But there's some folk who are so locked in their racial resentment, they can't see past that garbage that's in them. They see a racist under every rock, every stone, every word. And folks, as believers, you and I just can't be there. It's unhealthy. It's unhealthy. See, you know what? You need a drink. Jesus said, the water that I have, I said you need a drink. That's what she needed. She needs a drink. And not only did she have racial resentment, but she also had this sense of social resentment. You, a man, asked me, a woman. And so these standards of expectations, what you ought to do out in public, what you shouldn't do, how you ought to act, the etiquette, social etiquette. You just need to be mindful of that, lest you offend people. And there's a tremendous amount of hurt in our world that's due to social, and we do. And I just want to let you know, and I hope this frees you because I'm free. Here's the freedom. The freedom is this. I realize this, that every one of us are going to disappoint each other. It's just the way it is. The only one that doesn't disappoint, falling in love, right? Right? It's Jesus. But all the rest of us, dudes, we got problems. But we just do. But in Jesus, we have a method of correcting the racial stuff, the social stuff, and really getting down to the core of what's deeply affected in terms of sin, how it has so affected our perspective on reality. This woman is walking around, thinks she has a clear understanding of what reality is, and it's so distorted. We can become so comfortable with distortion that we think it's normal. Until we put on the lenses of God's grace and see life as he intended it. False ideas, false icons of worship, all kinds of stuff, just social resentment. But she also had relational issues too. I want to take you there. Look at this, look at this. And socially, in fact, let me take you that. Look at this. She says, are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well? Amen. And drank from it himself, as well as his sons and his livestock? Amen. See, she's all caught up in her experience, in the pride of their social reality as Samaritans. Our patriarch Jacob. We're descendants of Yaakov. And his sons drank. The value of this well, it's become an icon. It's become a place of worship. In fact, it's replaced God. And there are a lot of wells that seemingly promise satisfaction, and that rob people daily. Empty wells. Nothing. Dry, empty wells, promising satisfaction, and have no capacity to reach deep within our spirits. It's no wonder Bono says, still haven't found what I'm looking for. She struggled racially, socially, but I want to say too, she struggled relationally. Look at verse 13, and we're going to make our way to that. Look at verse 13. Jesus answered and said to her, whoever drinks of this water. Now, I love Jesus' style. I love his style. You know what he did? She was trying to bait him. She was baiting him into an argument. She was baiting him into an argument about that well, telling him, you shouldn't even be up here. Go back to Jerusalem. Now, I'm just sort of filling in some lines, right? But she's doing it in a respectful way. This is our father, Yaakov. What do you mean? He's not your father. Jacob, you're not a true descendant of Jacob. See, you see that? But look, how did Jesus respond? Now, if it were me, or you, we probably would have just went with her. You want a piece of me? You what? It's not Jesus' style. He wasn't going to be baited into a worthless, meaningless discussion about what happened 700, 800 years ago. You know what he did? He pushed past that. And he got down to the reality of what she needed. Jesus answered and said to her, whoever drinks of this water will thirst again. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You don't want to talk about Jacob? No. Don't want to talk about Jacob. Let's talk about water. Whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will never thirst. But the water that I shall give him will become in him. You don't have to come to Jacob's well. It'll be in you. It's a different kind of water. It's not sourced in the earth, in a dug up well. That's not its source. Its source will be in you. A fountain of water springing up into everlasting life. Some more I want to say about that water, but I want to go on because I want you to see this very important point about her relationships. The woman said to him, respectfully, in verse 11, she was respectful, sarcastic, but respectful. Look at verse 15. The woman said to him, sir, give me this water. So she showed respect in verse 11, and now she's showing a request. What? The woman said, sir, give me this water, that I may not thirst, nor come here to draw. I think she's moving in the right direction, but I don't think she quite gets it. See, I think, is it possible that she's looking at this water as a convenient alternative to coming to Jacob's well? If I don't have to leave my house and just have the water that, is it possible that she's looking at it as a convenience? And a lot of people do approach the things of Jesus from a convenience. Does it fit? Does it fit into my standard or my expectations of what I'm, Bono says, what I'm looking for? Bono didn't talk about what I need. He said, I haven't found what I'm looking for. See, that's about him. And that's why he had not, now I don't know if he has, and probably never will, and if we think what we need is all about what we want, what we expect, we'll never find. There are people that are looking and searching and will forever search. They'll never find satisfaction. Satisfaction is not first and foremost about satisfying your senses. She says, I don't want to have to come here again. Well, Jesus said to her, okay, that water is available for you. But before you can drink of that water, let's talk about relationships. Now, what does water, excuse me, what does water have to do with relationships? If you're talking about Jacob's well, nothing. But if you're talking about the water that Jesus gives, it has everything. Jesus said, look, before we go further, go call your husband and then come back. And this is so consistent with Scripture. See, as a married woman, she cannot make a decision in Jewish economy. She should not make a decision without her husband. Amen. Respectful. Jesus is respectful of the law. She needed her husband there to engage with this man who's offering her water. Go get your husband. And the woman answered and said, I don't have any husband. And Jesus said, you got that right. Oh, okay. No, that's right. I'm sorry. It's New King James Version. Jesus said to her, you have well said. There it is. I have no husband. For you've had 5 of them. And the one whom you have now is not your husband. That you spoke truly. This issue of water and the relationship, so there's a racial resentment in her. I think there's social resentment, but there's also relational resentment. I suspect. I just don't think you can go through 5 husbands and live with another man and not have some level of resentment. Maybe she's at the point. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know what's wrong with men these days. I'm just saying. 5 husbands. And the one you've got now, Jesus says, isn't your husband. What's that? 6 times. She has tried. I think that's what Bono said, right? I've tried this thing 6 times, time and time, and I still can't find what I'm looking for. She's failed to find true love. 6 times. And maybe it was the men's fault. I don't know. Knowing men, yeah, probably. Probably something wrong with those 5 or 6 men. Yeah. Put all men in a. We've got issues, all of us, right? We just do. But she's missing the point too. Instead of looking at the men necessarily as the problem, what about you? Yeah. What is it about a woman that goes through 6 men? Is there a problem there? See, relational issues, and Jesus wants her to drink water, spiritual water, but you can't until you get these 5 cylinders. We've got to deal with these things that in order to get on that beltway of life, we need to deal with relationships. She's definitely in search of satisfaction, But up to this moment, satisfaction has eluded her. And listen, and here, can I take you back again? One more time, because I think it fits. Was this one of the preachers from the past, this preaching group called the Rolling Stones? No, I'm thinking of somebody else. But the Rolling Stones, listen to this. I can't get. Oh, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. Listen, I want to just lift out a couple of lines. I can't get no satisfaction. Because I try, and I try. Then he talks about I'm going down the road, driving, hear the radio. Then he talks about watching TV, my TV, and he sees this advertisement about a white shirt, cleaning the white shirts. But I can't get no satisfaction. And then this line, this just really gets me. I'm riding around the world, and I'm doing this and singing that. And I'm trying to make some girl who tells me, baby, better come back maybe next week. Can't you see? I'm on a losing streak. This woman, she's on a losing streak. And the benefit of the water can't be enjoyed until you see who you are. You can't appreciate Jesus if you don't know who you are. If you don't know where you are in all that mess and you think you got it going on, no, you don't see any value in loving Jesus. What Jesus wants to do is to confront her with her stuff. That's all up in her, and it just sort of rolls out and moving from one man to the next man and just can't get satisfaction, searching, looking. And the real problem is in her. Jesus wants her to see it. The woman said to her respectfully, "Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet." Really? Come on. And then she goes right back. Our fathers worship. What is that? Tell me, what is that? Jesus just told her, you got 5 husbands, and that one you got, that rascal you got now. Confronted her with her sin, and she says, you must be a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain. What is that? That's deflection. She's hiding. She's deflecting the truth. Move. I don't want to go there. No, let's go there. You want water? We got to go there. So the water that Jesus offers is so satisfying. I want to read to you this Finding God by Larry Crabb. This is an old one. I pulled it off the shelf. But listen to Larry Crabb. Larry Crabb is a Christian counselor, but he also teaches at one of the Christian institutions. But I love this thought where he says, and hear it out. He says, our deepest longings in this earth are inconsolable. What does he mean? He talked about how he was growing up, and his 4 brothers, I believe, if I remember correctly, and they lost their parents. They eventually died. I think one of his brothers died. And he got to a point where he's looking back over his life, and he's looking back at the progression of life and how things have changed so. And there is in his heart, in that moment, a memory of days distant past. And there's a longing for more of that. When things were so good, things were really nice. And he concludes that our deepest longings cannot be consoled. Meaning there is, and if I could say it, Rolling Stone had it right to a point. You'll not find satisfaction. True satisfaction is not in this world. And if you think it is, you will be singing, I can't get no. He goes on to say that the deepest pleasures of life don't satisfy. He talks about them as being appetizers. Not to satisfy, but he says to point us forward. Isn't that amazing? That our life experience, I want you to take a moment. This is a visitation, right? Take a moment. And if you were to look around the audience, it's been good. Enjoying one another's presence. Take a moment and think and reflect about your family, the home where you come from, your family, your husband, your wife, your children, grandchildren. Take a moment. And the reality is, it's not going to stay like that. This moment will pass. We will not get another opportunity. This is it. This moment. And as enjoyable as it is, as enjoyable as family is, past, present, it will never satisfy. Amen. They're given to us as gifts to point us to Jesus. True satisfaction is in the water of his well. That's what he offered. He said, the water that I give you will be in you. See, we keep looking for satisfaction outside of us. In relationships, in buying stuff, in possessions, in doing and going. And no, true satisfaction is in one place. And Jesus wants to put that well called satisfaction, where? In you. He'll be in us, that well.